Hi guys, I'm Gnarly Carleigh and welcome back to the subreddit Pro Revenge, where we read stories today by Kevin VL123, Mike RU7, and Starchild1968. Our first story is titled Made an Asshole Redo an Entire School Year. During the final trimester of my last year in high school, we had to do a group project that needed to be finished by the end of the trimester and was evaluated and graded in front of a jury of teachers instead of an exam. I was paired with the biggest douchebag in class. Imagine a really entitled, arrogant asshole. Every time we were supposed to work on the project, he would have some excuse to not show up and demand I work on it alone to make sure the project stayed on track. In the beginning, I tried to complain and talk to the teacher, but she would just say, "Make it work, it's your project." After a while, I stopped planning work meetings altogether. He would call me to ask how the project was going, and I would say something like, "Yeah, it's going well, I think it's almost finished," or "I'll send you the presentation to prepare for the jury." Little did he know I had a trump card in my hand. The project counted for 40% of the final grade. Me doing well in the class already got about 55 of the other 60%. So even if I got a 0 on the project, I would still pass the class. The asshole had less. A lot less. After it became clear he was just going to use my work to pass the class and the teacher didn't care, I decided to throw out all work for the project and keep the asshole in the dark. The last bit went a lot easier than I expected, and he was happy with me telling him that everything was on track. In the last week before the jury presentation, things became harder. The asshole wanted me to send the presentation, so he knew which part he had to present. I managed to stall a few days with excuses, but 2 days before the jury presentation, I finally sent him an email with the PowerPoint, which was actually an MP3 file with a changed file extension. The next day, I switched off my phone. In the evening, I called him back with the excuse my phone had issues, and he was panicking that there was something wrong with the PowerPoint. I told him not to worry. I'll check it out tonight and have a working PowerPoint for tomorrow. I would come to the school at 8 a.m. so he could practice his part of the presentation before the jury appointment at 9 a.m. The next morning, I arrived at school a little before 9 a.m., having switched off my phone again. When he saw me, he approached me with a mix of panic and anger. But before I could explain anything, we were called into the room with the jury for our presentation. He just told the asshole to not worry and let me do the talking. We greeted the jury and I started the introduction. The original idea of today was for us to present our project XYZ. But since I already have enough points to pass the class and Mr. Asshole over here couldn't be bothered to put in any effort, I decided to skip it and instead have a nice day off today. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention. I just walked out on 4 confused teachers and 1 asshole with a mouth open so wide it looked like he was trying to eat a club sandwich vertically. Naturally, there was some backlash in the days after that. Teacher called for an explanation, but in the end recognized I was a good student and I indeed already passed the class without the project. Asshole was angry that he had to study over the summer for a re-exam. All in all, I was happy to have graduated and looked forward to going to college the next year. After the summer, I heard from friends that Asshole failed his re-exam. That, combined with other bad grades, caused him to have to redo his last school year. Karma is a bitch. Edit. I see some comments about the teacher, so I think I'm misrepresenting her here. I didn't have the feeling she was a bad teacher, I just think she wanted to give us a chance to work out this problem ourselves. Experience is the best teacher after all. I'm also assuming she thought we worked something out after I stopped complaining when I had my plan. Edit 2. To resolve confusing about the grading system, this was in Belgium in my 6th and last year of middle bar, where you're typically 17 to 18 years old. The school works with subjects. I misuse the word class for subject, like math, economics, English, etc. In this case, the subject was mechanics. Each subject needs to be passed with 50% or more for you to pass your year. If you get a 45 to 50% on a lesser subject, but passed all others with good grades, the teacher would allow you to pass the year anyway. The percentages were all divided differently for each subject. Mechanics had 60% on tests throughout the year and 40% on the project. Maths probably had 50% on tests during the year and 50% on the exam. Well, I have to say, Kevin, that was a good plan. I probably would have done something similar. I've had things like that happen to me lots of times because I'm the good kid. At least I was. I'm not in high school anymore, so it doesn't matter. So, second story for today is titled, Half the Class Fails in Midterm After Cheaters Copy Me. I don't have a problem helping classmates. I really don't. I even tutored several classmates during my final semester of undergrad because they needed the help. They all ended up passing their classes with my assistance. The story comes from a particularly tough business information systems class during my undergraduate education. The students in this class were mostly non-technical business majors, so this new material wasn't all similar to anything we learned in other classes. Needless to say, most of the students were struggling, including me. I still had a 4.0 in college at this point, though I finished with a 3.99, and I was willing to put in max effort to keep my stellar GPA. I started studying hard. I made my own Quizlet sets, I read the book every night, I finished assignments a week early, and I did outside research. After grinding it out in this class for about a month, I was working on an assignment in a room designated for quiet homework time, and that's where our story begins. Several other students from my class were there and working on the same assignment I was on. Judging by the size of exasperation, the irritated whispers, and requests for help, they weren't having much success. Having studied relentlessly for a month, I was having an easier time of it. As I got up to go get some water from the fountain in the hall, a classmate asked for my help. I told him I could do that and I'd be right back. I returned a few minutes later to find what I can only describe as a bunch of busy bees happily working away. This was strange since they were hopelessly stuck 2 minutes before, but whatever. My classmates tell me he figured it out without me. Now, I'm not an idiot, so I know the 5 people in this room probably copied my work off my computer when I went to get water. Scumbag move number 1. But as it turns out, no one in the class needed help the next day or the day after. Whoever in the study room had stolen my work had forwarded it to most of the class. Scumbag move number 2. I don't mind being helpful, but I hate being used, so I made a plan to get back at the people who had stolen my work. It didn't take long to organize my plan and carry it out. Here's how it went. I changed an answer on the next assignment by multiplying by -1. $1,500 became -$1,500 on this question. Number 2. The next week, I left my computer in the same place as before and went to get water, just like I had done the week before. 75% of the people of my class of 40 people put -$1,500 as the answer to question 3, which was definitely incorrect. Number 3. I began studying relentlessly for the midterm. Our professor had said he wouldn't adjust the weight of the test. Something like your score divided by 50 on a test with 60 points available, so your score of 40 becomes 80% instead of 68%, if anyone scored particularly well. This class was difficult, and no one was expecting anyone to score over 75%, so all my classmates figured the weight of the test would be adjusted. My plan was to wreck the curve, even though it's not a curve, and deny everyone the adjusted weight by producing a sufficiently high score. Number 4. I recruited a classmate who hadn't stolen my work to study with. Together, we aimed to score high enough that our professor couldn't adjust the weight of the midterm. Here's how it all played out. No one who copied me realized the answer was incorrect. Every last one of those idiots submitted the wrong answer to question 3. This next part surprised me, but my classmates began insisting this class was unfair, too difficult, or rigged, and launched these complaints as our professor. One day after class, I had the following exchange since I was the last student out of the classroom. Professor: OP, do you think this class is too hard? Me: honestly, this class is hard, but if people spent as much time studying as they did complaining, they'd be fine. They really just need to get to work. Professor: I thought the same. Me: deciding spur of the moment my next move. I also happen to know that most of the class incorrectly copied my work on the last assignment. Question 3 should be a net income of $1,500, not a net loss of $1,500, so I put down the wrong answer initially. Everyone copied me, and then I changed the answer later. I think you can reasonably conclude that anyone with a -$1,500 answer cheated off my incorrect work. Professor: I figured they all copied, but I didn't know you were the source. Anyway, thanks for your candor and your dedication to this class. I didn't cheat, so I didn't know what happened to those who did. But depending on the class, they would either get a 0 for the assignment or a plagiarism citation. So they got one of those. Fast forward to test day, and I'm ready to go. I know since most of the students are business majors, they need 70% to pass the class because it's a required course. Hurting them on the midterm will go a long way in helping drop their grades. I take the test. I'm the first one done, and I leave pretty sure I've done enough to deny the class the exam weight adjustment. A week later, we got our exams back. Tests are distributed all around me with scores on the top in red ink. 68, 71, 70, 66, 75, 67, and these are the smart students. Someone on the end of my row takes a test from our professor and lets out a sigh as he begins passing a test down my row. It stops on my desk. 93%. I've won. Some idiot in the front of the class. So is there going to be a curve? Professor: Nope. Me, what was the high score, Professor? 93%. Average score for the exam was 71, so a good number of people didn't get a passing score. Maybe they made up for it on the final and passed, but I don't care. I got mine. I have to say, OP, that was definitely some karma there. Math is not my strong suit, but I would have asked first before cheating off of you. Moving on, our final story of today is titled Tootsie Roll. This happened many, many moons ago. I can't say it's pro-revenge, but for a 4th grader, it's epic. We had a homeroom in school, the room where you started your day in, the one where you kept your stuff like school supplies, and most importantly, our lunch. So beginning of the day, we leave everything in the desk, which is where we were told to keep everything. Class ends, I pick up the needed school supplies and book for the next couple of classes, plus PE. A few classes later, we go back to homeroom, where we have a class, then we break for lunch period. One day, I went to get my lunch and half of it was gone, putting few pieces of candy. I told my teacher that someone had stolen part of my lunch. She assured me no one had taken my food. I explained that yes, my food is missing. She still said no one took my food. I couldn't understand why she wasn't comprehending what I was saying. I'm right next to her desk telling her. She said lunch is about to begin and to sit down before the bell rings. I said, I will, but first I need you to understand what I'm saying. Someone has taken my lunch. Again, she said I was mistaken. I said, I don't understand why you can't just investigate what happened. Now it's getting real. She said it's lunchtime and I needed to go to the cafeteria. I said, why? Someone ate my lunch. I have nothing to eat. She told me if I didn't leave, she would take me to the principal's office. I said, great, let's go because I'm not leaving until you do something. She said, okay, I'll do something. I said, great, thanks. What are you going to do? She said she didn't have time to deal with me, so I left. Next day, I was missing another treat from my lunch. Now understand, I'm poor. That meal is all that I have. My mom and dad are pieces of crap on drugs. So I make my own lunch, which tends to be a jelly sandwich if we have it, and candy from Halloween or something. This particular week, my brother and I scored on pudding, and I had yet to eat any, because some little jerk absconded with my stuff. So I brought this up to my teacher, and again, she didn't want to hear about it. So I went to the principal's office during lunchtime by myself to file whatever grievance a 4th grader could do. At least the principal heard what I had to say. Monday morning came and my teacher was pissed I went to the principal. She scolds me in front of other students saying I'm a tattletale. No one likes a narc. Not cool. I just sat there and said nothing. When I got home, I told my mom and dad. Their solution was for me to take my lunch with me. I did think about that, but I didn't because it was a hassle to carry everything. Plus, to put it in a safe place. One class was PE. That's just not right, so I didn't. Their idea sucked. My idea was genius. I had a big Tootsie Roll, like the size of an adult's finger. They are so good. I hate to ruin it, but what a great cause. So I took my dad's drill motor, chucked up a large-sized drill, and bored out enough of the Tootsie Roll to load it up with 5W transmission fluid. I capped it with the shavings that I had bored out, wrapped it back up, and my trap was set. It looked great. Tootsie Rolls are a little oily on the outside because of heat or the makeup of the candy itself. I was so proud of myself for the craftsmanship I used for this devious idea. This was going to work. I didn't tell anyone of my plan, not my mom or my dad or my little brother. In the back of my head, I kept thinking, who's doing this? My brother? My teacher? She hated me. I was a smart kid. I always did my stuff, but with an attitude. I looked like a hippie, bell-bottom ZZ Top shirt, not proper for rednecks in Oklahoma, but I just didn't know. I soon found out what period my food was being taken and by whom. It was this ginger kid, fat tub of poop, who was related to, of all people, my teacher. How? I can't remember, but they were kin. I was taken to the principal's office. I'm thinking I'm getting an award for finding a thief. Nope, I'm getting yelled at. It took me a second to comprehend. I was being reprimanded. I had enough of adults pushing me around, making me feel like I was the bad guy. I explained to both of them that I didn't give Fat Ginger permission to eat my food. Why is he sick? Did he eat something that wasn't his? Did anyone think that stealing someone's food is wrong? But I'm the bad guy. I hate to tell you, but Ginger is going to die. I put cyanide in the food from rat poison. He had already been taken to the nurse's office. Principal and teacher started to freak out. I started laughing, said it was only transmission fluid. They were going to give me paddling. I explained that was never going to happen. My mom and dad have to be present. So let's get them here and see if they agree with me. The victim, or you, who didn't listen or do anything to protect me. My mom might be a lot of things, but when it comes to her kid being bullied, she went off on them. I was in the outer office hearing her go off on them. When she came out, I asked her if I was the winner. She said, "Yes, baby. You showed them you're the winner." Woo! Okay, that's a lot smarter than me as a 4th grader, and I never would have thought to do that because my mom would have had my behind. But that is it for today. So if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button below, it would help our channel a bunch. Thank you guys so much for listening, and come back next time for a new episode with a couple more stories for you guys.